Wait, let me push you into the cold waters. Welcome to Alara's podcast. Well, we were just talking about how no one knows how to start a podcast, so we're just gonna start the podcast, and things will flow. It's like you jump into the cold water, you can't do anything other than swimming. So yeah.
Okay, are we doing the clap again? No?
No, it's fine. Or maybe let's just do it.
Every time we do it, I'm scared.
That's the point. But yeah. Cool. The podcast has started, Alara.
Okay. Guys, I don't know why today, I was so super stressed, so it's hard to start a podcast even. But today I'm with Faisal on another episode of Late Night Talks with Alara. So, Faisal, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I am Faisal. I'm a third year ES student.
Earth and Environment.
Environmental Science. My philosophy teacher refers to us as the touchy-feely hippies who are not going to save the planet. That's the last one was my addition because that's true. So yeah. So you're one of those guys.
And he's also super into photography and videography.
Yeah.
And working on a lot of projects.
Yeah. Mostly media related, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, super talented person. That's why it's important to have him in this podcast, I believe. And he has such a nice character. So, today we want to talk about creativity, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And let's start with that. So, What do you think about the creativity and academics?
Yeah. I feel like
Okay, wait, let me just clarify. So I feel like whenever I come to university, I became less creative and less producing. Mm-hmm. I was just focusing on academics and everything I had to get done with it.
Yeah.
But never the focus was if I like photography, I wouldn't go first to photography. If I have a meeting, I would cancel if I had a photography session. So it was always big part of my life was academics, and I would always postpone creative stuff because they're simply not as appreciated.
Yeah.
So
creativity for me is a very deep topic. So I would guessing from what you're talking about, I would talk about the practice of being a creative, right? Of being a photographer or a dancer or something like that. I feel like that is I remember this really beautiful quote from Dead Poets Society. Mm-hmm. It talks about science, law, this and that are noble professions for life, but art is what you live for. I totally butchered that phrase, so look it up or something. But it talks about how we need scientists, or we need to be into these professions for living in general. But we do need the practicing arts. We need to practice arts to because that is what our heart wants, or that is where we carve an image for ourselves. So
are you talking about the creativity and generally working on arts, those kind of stuff also increases our success on other fields?
Yeah, I would say because it helps you create a balance in life, right? And on the other hand, or on a more integrated way, let's say creativity in terms of education and work also, right? I'm a huge advocate for being creative in your work, because let's say for us in university, we don't have a lot of room to be creative because we are trying to become scientists and businessmen and economists and all that stuff, and for that we need to close the gap between people in the profession and us fresh out of high school. Yes. We have to learn a lot of the basics of it to get to that point where from where we can start breaking new ground.
Yeah, actually true. So I think then after college we are gonna have an area that the creativity is gonna boost up the success.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
Because I feel you need to be creative to do something new. Because if you're not creative, then you're just following what was before you. But when you're creative, you are able to like think in different ways, and that's where innovation happens.
Yeah, and I think innovation is so important because even like before like we started recording this podcast, we were talking about a tripod because I don't have one, and Faisal brought one, but since I don't have one, I found a super creative way that works for me that to like just put my camera and then record this view. But you also used the term and I really liked it and I want to actually like everyone to know.
It's called Jugaad. So Jugaad is where easiest way to understand Jugaad is to Google Jugaad. You see some really crazy images and you're like, okay, that's what it is. And it basically is when you are low on resources, and you just figure out a messy way to get the job done at the end of the day. It's like making a makeshift arrangement.
Yeah.
And like you just jugaad your way.
But that's, I think, another way to success, you know, like, because not all the times that you're going to have a lot of things, like, you know, everything you need for that job or something, but you have to find a way, even without that, to, like, you know,
to get the job done at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's appreciated. That's actually something appreciated.
Yeah.
But in a lot of areas, like, I always find, like, myself think about, like, oh, like, creativity and generally, like, arts and etc. is not as appreciated as any other things, like businesses, science, etc. Because, like, when we're talking about science, if you do a breakthrough research, it's going to be, like, well-known everywhere.
Yeah.
But for a lot of artists, and, I mean, let's say that this is not the only creative work, but a lot of artists find themselves, like, 5 years, like, 10 years later, even when they pass away, that, like, their work is appreciated.
Yeah.
And that actually sucks. Like, that truly sucks.
That is true. I feel like all of these people, like, if you think about it from a macro perspective at the society, all of these people play their roles in our society to make it what it is. Some are better appreciated than others. Like the person the plumber that did the plumbing of this building. We don't appreciate that person, do we?
No.
But then that person's job is so important. Similarly, no one really appreciates the artist, but then that person's job is so important in our society, because I feel like for me, when I think about artists are the trailblazers in everything. If you look at the history of our society or the history of the arts, it was the art or just like the social movements and stuff. It were the artists who thought of like who visualized this liberal open society and like stood against the average flow of the society to explore their new ideas, and then it became what we have right now. That was not cohesive at all, but like I hope that makes sense.
No, but I think I get like what you mean. Like even I think this industrial developments and everything, like everything literally we have now, it's like if you look through it, it's all about creativity.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like electricity, I don't know. Like what else? Like, you know, those kind of like even internet, I guess, like, you know, those kind of stuff that we cannot live without these days, even though they're not essential for a human being normally.
Yeah.
But yeah, like humans made this. And talking about humans, do you think that animals have a creative side actually? Like, just came up to my mind, and I think it's an interesting question. Like, because we know that like humans and animals usually like overlap in a lot of like, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, but definitely they're creative because they have to also reach somewhere and they will find a way, and you know, but
I mean, at that point, if you want to go at that
That
level,
deep.
I would go even deeper and think, explore what creativity is.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Why not?
What is creativity from your perspective?
I think for me it's like anything you come up with that is not like the follow through, you know, like not everybody follows, but you come up with something else.
When you take the road less taken.
Yeah, like basically, like you take a risk, and then it comes up maybe like as a good thing or maybe as a bad thing, but you still choose to take a risk. And I mean, to be honest, can we say that everything we take a risk is creative? I don't think so as well. Like,
yeah.
But a lot of times I think like usually all example I see is that like, you know, artists, scientists, I don't know, engineers, like it's about risk most of the time.
Yeah.
But also like seeing another perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yeah, I agree with that. On like, I would just add a bunch of extra words
Yeah,
to describe it, saying that like, people, when you do something differently and when something is unique, it like, it's an outlier. I think it generally those are the signs of something creative and the creative thinking. And yeah. And in that context, are animals creative? Cliche point, animals are creative because they mutate. So yeah, but other than that, to be completely honest, I don't know enough about animals to be think. Okay, let's take the example of my hamster. If you look at it, you would think that he's creative, because like, you know, I put something new in his cage, and like he knows how to use it. For example, I put it's very simple, but like I have a hamster wheel in this, right? That, right? Genetically, it doesn't know how to use a hamster wheel, but like in no time, the first thing it knew how to do in the cage was to know how to use the hamster wheel. But then there's a method or a rule behind that creativity from my observation.
Yeah.
Because hamsters are designed to be curious, right? So how its mechanism works is that it's going to make sure that it has observed and mapped every inch of the cage.
Yeah.
Right? And when you do that, and at some point you have to come to the hamster wheel, and you get to the hamster wheel, and then you move it, and then it's gonna start spinning, and then you know how it works, and then you keep on using it. But then that was a result of like a standard rule that it was following in a way.
But I think curiosity, like you mentioned, it's really relevant to creativity, because you always like try like, oh, what happens if I do this? And for the hamster case, it's like, what happened if I step onto this?
That's also true. Yeah, I feel like if you break it down into pieces, curiosity is a big aspect of creativity. Yeah. I feel like it's for the people who questioned or were curious about what would happen if this was done differently.
Exactly.
That came up with the innovations that we have in our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, I feel like curiosity is so important for
every field
and all of us in general. Okay, curiosity is similar to critical thinking too, in a way, right? So questioning our standards, the ways of our world, I think it's very important, because a lot of what we see around us was done by someone before us, and we don't know their motivations. Maybe that person was, for example, how you write a lab report, right? That structure was done by some scientist before you, and maybe that scientist was a bit lazy or like was too big of a perfectionist, and then they made this template, and everyone has to follow that unquestionably going forward. But I feel like creativity is part of questioning why are we doing it this way, and then finding a different way of doing it, or like breaking it down and optimizing it and stuff.
But I mean, it's not like a full example, but like, let's think about this lab report example. I feel like if I change the structure, then I would be like, you know, criticized. I would be like deduction of points, you know, and everything. And I think like that's what I meant. Like I feel like most of the time that society doesn't really value the creativity behind stuff. Especially true. Like during school, like not even college, but during school. Maybe in Germany it's different, but like in Turkey, like if you have to do something, you cannot go out of that thing. And I think that blocks a children's like creative mind that can like go everywhere, and you know, in every area. Or for instance, even like the fact that we have to choose our measures and stick to that. Like,
yeah,
you don't have that much chance to explore stuff. Maybe in that other area,
yeah,
you'll find yourself a better, like, I don't know, more curious, more creative, whatever. But we're always stuck in this, I don't know, like societal, I don't know, fear, pressure, whatever,
yeah,
to stick to stuff. And
yeah,
like, because I can't, for instance, imagine like if I tell my family that, okay, like I want to be a full-time photographer, they would like, you know, Alara, are you really sure? Like how are you gonna make ends meet? You know, those kind of stuff. But it actually came up to me when I saw, because we went to an event together, and he was the photographer, by the way. This guy like actually taking pictures of cars, and his job is like taking pictures of cars, literally.
Yeah.
But I don't know how he reached there, you know, how he had the confidence to stop everything and just take pictures and take pictures of cars. Then companies sponsor him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, that's such a risky way. And I don't know, like from the way I've grown, I'm not really tend to risk it out. Like I like things safe way, you know.
Yeah.
I should have like a pocket money, whatever, to like sustain my life. But I think a lot of like the most creative stuff comes out like, okay, like, you know, fuck it, like, let's jump to this. And
I feel like so see in your case example also, right, you are you want to be comfortable because you're scared of being creative and of stepping into the unknown, right? And I feel like it's the same with society. You can extrapolate that to society, because creativity creates fuzzy lines. And but when you have like a straight structure, when you have a structure or like predictability in terms of how people behave, of how my child is going to turn out if he takes this major, then it's easier to predict, easier to control. On the other hand, being creative is challenging because you're always uncertain. Because when you take that risk to do something differently, it might not turn out right. And then and most of the times we are afraid of the consequences of it not turning out right. And that
always scares me, actually. And I also heard that, like, I think I was listening at TEDx Talk, that most of the people don't find their dream job. I mean, this is not super relevant to creativity, but I think it's something important to mention, is not in the first trial. Like the people who go to a straight area and continue with that, they're successful, so successful at the beginning, but then they are not sustainably successful. They peak out and then they're super bored because they didn't know, like, you know, what else to do. They just stick to a plan. Like, I guess like a lot of like sportsmen, like sportswomen, like even I think Roger Federer, like the tennis player, he did not like start like tennis playing until, I don't know, like he was like a little bit like older child. Like he tried every sport, and now look at him, like he's one of the most successful like tennis players. So it's a lot of like risking it out and trying, and I mean you need also support, you know, as a child, like you need support. And I would also understand my parents' perspective, like, okay, like, you know,
they want the best for you.
Like it's not that coming out from a bad intention, but it's also like, I don't know, like really destructive. And
I mean, it's like, see, from their goal at the end of the day is for you to see you happy, and they know from their lives and perspective that the path to happiness is a stable job. Right, and they are trying to push you towards happiness by helping you get a stable job. And all that stuff. And that is, as you said, it's well intentioned, but like it might go in different ways when but I guess, but then I just often think about like then the choice in front of us is to either live in fear of what will happen if you don't if you either live in fear of what will happen if you do what your heart wants and be creative, or be creative and maybe suffer.
Yeah,
So,
I think
like,
you have, like, you are the person actually have to risk that out. Like, you
Yeah.
know, no one else. But let's talk about the people who actually risk that out and they're successful now, like, as a creative person. I mean,
Yeah.
it can be an artist, it can be a YouTuber, like, I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
But then, do you think success kills creativity? Because, like, maybe they are, like, you know, they did a breakthrough something. They did a breakthrough, I don't know, a photography. They did a breakthrough paint or something.
Yeah.
And then they're, like, super successful. And now, I guess, companies reach out, like, art people reach out and everything. And then they're like, okay, like, my creativity is not there anymore. I can't produce. Because whatever I produce, it's not coming from me, but somebody pushing me to do something.
Yeah. So, like, okay, talking about that, I will have to go in, like, a very specific domain of, like, social media or, like, the media culture, right? And in that context, a lot of people, how I see it is that a lot of people find breakthrough success for this one thing. For example, let's say... Okay, I'm gonna use a very weird example, but this guy, Filthy Frank. You know Filthy Frank?
No.
Okay.
Wait, but you can explain it.
Okay, so Filthy Frank is this YouTuber
Okay.
who, you know Harlem Shake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the founder of Harlem Shake, and he had this. That is just at the surface level. His content, his videos are outrageously vulgar and disgusting. But YouTube used to love that. There was a huge community around that, right? And then, beyond that, he found his success through Harlem Shake, and and that happened a long time ago. And what he's doing now is he's a singer.
Okay.
And, like, so when he talks about his success or his life, is that in the start, when he started off, he found success through this one thing, and the whole world expected him to produce more of that.
Yeah.
Right? He was like, okay, he gave birth to Harlem Shake. People are like, what is the next Harlem Shake? And you're expected to stay on that level.
Yeah.
But that never happens. It's people lose their interest. You're always gonna fall off. And,
like, I never seen that guy after Harlem Shake.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even though society puts so much pressure on him, like, I haven't seen him succeeding again, like, ever.
Exactly. But I think you might be wrong about that. He after all of that, so he was after Harlem Shake, he continued making these 50 videos. And he was, you should, guys, go check out Filthy Frank. You'll be disgusted, but as an artist, he's good.
What do you mean?
You'll see. But, like, he is an artist. I consider him as an artist. I mean, more so now. But okay, let me go on.
Okay, we're
to
listening.
break the suspense. He did this Harlem Shake thingy. He came up with that, and then after that, he continued making more videos, and he was quite popular in his niche community, let's say. And then one day, he just gave up all of that. Completely gave up all of that, and then he became a singer.
Okay.
Right? But what I'm trying to say is that, like, and one of the reasons he stopped doing all of that, at least I think, is because he was pressured so much by his audience and fans to just continue making the same thing. You know, you see my point? He was making this, even though he's creative, but since once he found this one thing that made him successful, from there on he just continued making the same thing, and people lost this interest over time, and his success seemed to be dwindling. But after his YouTube success, he just threw all of it away and started off as a musician. And,
okay,
like,
but don't you think that it's also a pressured point? Like, because he was successful as, like, not because of his videos, but, like, one video that he sang and, you know, musician, and then he became a musician. I think it's also out of pressure, to be honest. I'm not sure, like, you know the story better, but if I look at it as an outsider view, I would think that, okay, like...
Yeah, I think. Okay. In if you look at it, if you have more information about this, it is not that way.
Okay.
I can understand how it might seem that way, but
Uh-huh.
like if you have more information, you see there was a smooth transition into becoming a musician than just like, okay, my music video worked out and then I became a musician. But yeah.
But what if it didn't work out? Like, do you think he would still go into a musician area? Like, would he take this leap to like jump into the?
I think so. He would.
He would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the other option would be to live in the fear of what would happen if I had become a musician, and carry that fear on and continue making those videos.
So eventually.
Like dwindle down, and and like instead of doing that, he just completely switched his career, took the road less traveled, and yeah.
Yeah. That's a good example, actually. Like,
Yeah.
I did not know anything about this.
Yeah, it's a very niche YouTuber thingy. I can understand why you don't know. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I don't think I'm not.
He sponsored our video.
I think his name is like Jojo or something. I don't know, but he had a very popular song that I can't remember.
Harlem Shake.
No. There was a pair one, but yeah, I'll tell it to you after the podcast, I guess. But yeah. But also one thing that I want to talk about. So you seem to put a lot of emphasis on success, right? What is success for you then? Like, why success?
Yeah, that's such a good thing. I think for a long time I saw success as recognition.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you're doing something significant, you would be always recognized.
Yeah.
But I think over, like, because I started, like, growing up a lot during university and finding out, like, what is life in general, you know, questioning so much.
Yeah.
I realized that success is just, like, I guess being proud of yourself.
Yeah.
If I think about it that way, if I'm an artist and if I'm actually creating a work that I like, I would be proud of myself.
Yeah.
And I would be like successful for me. But I think for a lot of people, and sometimes including me, success is literally like how people receive you, like, you know, and I don't know, like, for instance, like, again, like, since I'm a science buddy, like, would I consider a paper successful if it's only like useful for me and nobody else refers to that and recognizes that? Probably not that much, but if something is on Nature, you know, and I don't know, like a significant journal, you would be like, oh, like, you know what, my daughter like wrote a journal, like, you know, a paper for the journal, like,
yeah.
I think my parents would be proud of me and I will feel for sure successful, you know.
Yeah.
But I think like right now I'm learning like how to not overly criticize myself and as well, but also like learning like, okay, today I learned this. I think it's a step to success, and I'm feeling like, you know, better than yesterday because I learned something new, and that's something successful, like the learning, continuous learning, I think. Because you can't be like successful and always stay successful. Like you have to work hard to, you know, always like improve and increase like what are you doing and everything. So, but I don't know how it's related to creativity, because then like, let's say that I have a amazing artwork, I love it, and I don't have money and nobody like recognizes me. I don't know if I would consider myself successful. Probably not. Like,
yeah, but
because I wouldn't be able to satisfy easily, you know, myself. Because I think it's so much easier when somebody tells you, "Oh my God, I love your work," like to be like, "Oh wow," like, you know.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with my work.
But what if you turn out someone like Van Gogh? Oh no, his name is pronounced Van Gogh. I learned it somewhere random, but like his the proper way to pronounce it is like Van Gogh.
I mean, like.
But like taking his example in the way that like Van Gogh was someone that he never got recognition in his life, to the point that like his he was driven to suicide through his demons. Like that's a different story by itself. But like, he never got recognition.
Yeah, and he was depressed.
Yeah.
As well.
So like.
I don't think he considered himself successful.
Yeah, but then.
But he loved drawing, and that was the only important thing.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So like I feel like that is what is more important than being successful.
That is true.
Yeah.
But do you think like why like even though he loved drawing and he was capable of drawing all the time, then why he was this depressed? I mean, I'm not super sure about Van Gogh's life, so I can't really give a significant. But like, if you love something and if you're able to do that thing, and if you're able to continue living, then aren't you supposed to be super happy? Even though you don't feel successful. Like, you don't necessarily need to be successful to be happy.
Yeah. I feel like, I would say we don't know enough, and like life is much more complex than that, because the way you put the argument, it sounds very linear.
Yeah, and definitely. Like, so I don't think it's like that, but also like it might seem that way. But
yeah, and also like there's things like clinical depression, right?
Yeah,
it might not be something related to his life, but he's just like maybe genetically predisposed, maybe something about his physiology and all that.
For sure.
Yeah, but yeah.
But I don't relate success equals to happiness. Actually, I think it's not. It might be even the opposite. Because like when you're successful about something, you always want more and more.
Yeah,
you're never satisfied.
Yeah, and that's how I see it. Like I feel like success and recognition is often something that might come out by luck. You know, if you think how many actors do you think are successful and recognized?
Not that much.
Well, yeah, you might be able to count like 100, 200, right? But I'm sure there are a million actors and artists out there in the world. So by that standard, it's a game of luck. That's a very diluted argument, but you know, if you can think about it that way, and I feel like if you work towards success, then you're working towards being lucky, and there is a huge. It is mixed together. You need to work hard to open more opportunities in order to be lucky enough to get there.
Yeah.
It's true. I'm not keeping them apart. But what I want to say is that like in the long term, we should not. At least that's my principle that I'm trying to work towards. At least I guess that we should not work towards success, but we should be working towards something where we are happy.
And we love
exactly, that we want to do, and try to do our best in there. Try to be best in that field, not to be successful, but just because we want to take that field, take that thing as far as it can be pushed.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the way you can keep pushing it forward, and maybe one day become successful.
Agreed. I think it's like just the willpower to go further. That's all about it, and consistency more than anything.
Yeah.
And I also read this. Wait, like I have to like come up with this. I actually read it to my put it to my lab book because I was like listening something, and I was like, I have to note this down. I think something like that. Whoa. Okay, let's put it this way. If we choose something, we have to go that way. But, and if we choose another thing, we have we have another thing I don't know how to.
Yeah, go to
Wait. Like the sentence that I read was like, life is not about choices you make. It's about making a choice and committing 100% to it. And it actually blew my mind because, like, you can always change your choices. Like, you always doubt about other choices. Like, what if I do this? What if I do that? But, like, the success is not about, like, the things that you didn't try, but, like, how much effort you're putting out there, kind of. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't think it does make sense that much in this topic. I really don't know. But, yeah. And I don't know. I don't have that many things to talk about, like, anymore.
Yeah, it's fun. And you can just like wrap it up.
But I think we went through like a lot of like different directions
Yeah,
that I was not expecting at all. No.
Of course, that's the point of podcast,
Yeah.
right? That's what I love about it. Like,
Yeah.
I'll give you an example from my conversation with Julia. I mean, my podcast with Julia. Like, we were just like talking about her journey and and somehow, as part of all of that, it came to me. And I was like, how did that happen? Because it just goes everywhere, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like a conversation around some topic, and
yeah. I like that. Let me ask you, like, how did you start like photography and videography then?
Okay, so I started photography because of social media, I would say. I wanted to be cool on social media, and and I was like, I thought good photos make you look cool. So the first time like I sort of dipped my feet into that was like taking a random photo that my mother shot and like just editing it to look nice, and I was like, whoa, this looks so cool, and I like put it on my Facebook, and like I was like, look at this photo, this is so cool. And then getting some success or recognition from there, like that in terms of a bit of extra likes and stuff, I was like, yeah, this is so cool, I should do more of that. So I tried to it's really funny how the way I was thinking when I was like, oh, I need to find more photos that my mother randomly took, so I like edit them to perfection, let's say. And then while I was thinking that, I realized, oh, maybe I can take good photos, these random photos by myself, and then edit them. So I started doing that, and then that's how I started taking pictures, and it was all taking pictures using my mother's phone. Right?
That's super nice, actually. That's a nice story. But you said that you also like putting it to Facebook, and then more likes mean more recognition and more success.
Exactly.
Like you felt super successful, and then I'm like, let's continue doing it more kind of way.
Yeah, it was that recognition and that like the push that kept me going. I agree with that. Yeah, it's not anymore, but because social media is kind of messed up in that way. But like, so like then I started taking more and more pictures, and then but when my mother realized that I'm liking this field, she actually was it my mother or my father, but my parents, my father just gave me his camera that he bought for temporary use on this trip. And then I was like, great, and I started using that camera and like started getting more and more into it. And like the thing with me is that I get really excited about something new, and like I just do it. I just obsess over it. So like taking photos all the time, editing all the time, trying to learn as much about it as much as possible. And then at that point, I wasn't doing much outside of school, so this became my thing, my hobby, or like this my X factor, being a photographer. So yeah, and it just sort of started off like that, and then it just went like I would introduce myself. Oh, hi, I'm Faisal. I'm a photographer and all that stuff, and and then it just spiraled down or up to wherever I am right now. And
yeah, you guys should follow him. Also, I have a question. Actually. Yeah. This is not fully about photography, but do you consider yourself creative?
Yep. And in a lot of ways. Not just because I'm a photographer and stuff, but also in terms of other things that I do. For example, whenever I'm in a team or I'm working, I would say that I am the one who brings the creative flair to the team or to my workplace. And like it was also a result of this survey that I took. It was like, you're the creative flair or the creative part of the team, but like in terms of team management. But like and I am shamelessly creative. I would love to do something new all the time, and like be flexible and just like just try new things, and and that so far has worked out a lot for me. Except for the conflict between yes, you can be as creative as you want, but that also costs you a lot of efficiency and productivity. So how do you balance that? How do you bring your creative ideas to fruition? Because the execution phase requires you to be very organized and rigid sometimes. So like, still trying to figure out that balance, but yeah, overall, in terms of my stuff, I'm creative.
And do you think the people around you is creative? Like the people you surround yourself with is super creative?
There's a mix of both, I would say. I have a lot of friends and people who I work with who are really creative, but then I also have people who need a specific set of instructions and they give output that way. And we need both.
Both are valid. Yeah.
Yeah, we just like how we need everything from plumbers to masons to architects to make this building. We need creative people. We need people who can execute tasks word by word. We need leaders. We need outliers to make up a successful society, a team, a crew, everything.
Yeah.
So like, there's a place for everyone, and I think it's very important to understand yourself. Are you someone who's creative, or are you someone who knows how to like get things done from a set of instructions? Or are there, I'm sure, and there are a lot of other archetypes. And yeah, and just find your field and find your space depending on that. I feel like that way you're able to maximize what your output or possibilities of success.
This is rather a stupid question, but do you think like creativity is genetic? Because like it might be a little bit actually genetic, but also it might be about the things that we're surrounded with. Because I was just thinking now, like, imagine that like you are just grown in a village and then you're just stuck there and you don't know what is outside world. You're not exposed to anything else than, I don't know, cows and trees and everything. Would you be able to like go super creative in that area? Like, I mean, you would, but is it as much as possible like for the people in the metropolitan area that is like seeing a lot of things on internet and like exploring a lot more?
Yeah, I would say I don't know if creativity is genetic, but I would say it is a base aspect of someone. Like I don't think it's about being exposed to a lot of information or elements, but it's just a way of looking at the world, a way of doing things. And I feel like that is what creativity is, and I feel like some people are good at it and some people are not.
So it might be like genetic, I guess.
So
because like when you say it's like comes naturally, I think like when people have stuff comes naturally, it's most likely.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that, and like and and on the same note, I would also like want to explore this idea of like different type of intelligences. Like how we always think that like intelligence is like one specific thing of being good at math or science and all that shit. That's bullshit.
Yes.
People can be I'm ripping this off of this video that I watched about this professor or this scientist. But this person talks about 6 different types of intelligences. You can be intelligence in terms of music. You can be intelligent in terms of how you know your body. Athletes.
Yeah.
How they know how to turn your body this way to have this effect in their sport. There are people who are intelligent in terms of communication, understanding people.
Emotional intelligence. I think it's even considered as a soft skill these days.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, you need soft skills and like emotional intelligence to be successful. Success is a very
no, like literally no. I think emotional intelligence and learning about human behavior in every field. I think like every major should combine the area with psychology in a way. Like not kidding, because you have human interaction, and if you understand human better, you're gonna reach true places like get what you want super like easily and stuff like that.
That's true, because I feel like at the end of the day there's only so much we can accomplish on our own. We always have to work in teams, right?
Yeah.
So like if you know other people, then
networking. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
A lot of work.
Keyword for 30 years at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with that, I think like I'm done. I guess like with the last thing. Yeah. Do you have anything you want to add?
That was already a lot.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Her camera turned off like 3 times so far, so I think that says a lot about the length of the video. It's like a measure.
Yeah. But I think it's like maybe 30 minutes.
Alright, that's cool.
I don't know. I really don't know. Like.
Yeah.
Conversation always like I don't know how time flies.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. I love that.
Yeah, me too. That's why I'm doing all of this.
Yes. Nice.
Should I expose your stuff?
What? Mine's. Oh yeah, sure.
You sure?
Yeah, I mean it's.
I don't know if you're open to it yet.
Oh, like, okay. No. It's not about that. It's like as I said, as you were saying that like you're just like fuck it and do it, right? Same with me. I'm like, I was thinking about it for a long time, and this is me saying just fuck it, and I'm doing it. But like, I'm not adding the marketing or aspect of it because it doesn't meet my taste yet. So I have this taste gap. But what I was saying is that like, my taste in podcasts is a bit higher than how much I can produce. And like, the gap is too big for me to be proud of it.
Okay.
So I'm just like, for now, it's just practice and just like testing the waters, seeing how I like it. And more than anything, it is just to make Julia sit with me and tell me about her adventures so I can feel inspired.
Yeah, that is really true. He has a podcast, by the way, but like we're not marketing him just yet, you know?
Yeah. If it goes well, you will see it at some point.
For me, like, I saw a comment on YouTube and like, I don't know, for me, like, someone commenting on my video, like you know, not like, okay, great job or something like that, but something that is actually like remarkable. Like I did that, you like you know, you did this, I like that you did this and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or it's affecting somebody's life, that actually motivates me so much.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of people like commented on like this academic pressure thingy, like, in a really responsive way, and that is affecting them like really nicely.
Yeah.
And that for me is like, okay, we have to continue, because like, even though it doesn't reach to like, I don't know, 100,000 people, I don't care. If it reached to someone and changing someone's life in a good way, or entertaining someone even, because I think it's still a good way, then I'm like, okay, like, I don't care about like the other parts, but let's do it.
That's true. Yeah.
I guess with that, we are like...
We come to the second ending.
Yeah. Thank you, Faisal, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you guys for listening. And see you in the next episodes.
Bye.